What is going on, everybody? This is Maximilian, and I am super excited, and you probably have no idea why. Well, I'm sure some of you are guessing, well, it's because you put out a video for the first time in a month. That's beside the point. That's not what we're going to focus on right now, because I actually accomplished something in an episode. I know, an episode that actually establishes something, gets something done. There's no level grinding here. I know, it's just progressing the game. So, cool stuff happens. What kind of cool stuff happens? Well, let's just say first we completed our party here. We got our Larvitar. Now, I promise I didn't just walk in there and get it. I did have to edit out a good 40 minutes of wandering in circles, but I do it all for you. You're welcome. Secondly, things sort of spiraled out of control a little bit, because I started playing for a little while today, thinking, okay, well, perhaps I can accomplish this, and maybe a little bit of that, and then, you know, my main goal was just get something done. My goal was do something productive for this episode, because we really don't have a whole lot left to do. There's only a little bit that I can still do in this game before I actually finish the walkthrough. And before I knew it, do something became do all the things. And so this episode, I decided to do all the things. And what do I mean by all the things? Well, by all the things, I mean, first off, complete our party, which you've already done. Second, do all the things means get all the legendary things. Get all the legendary things means get all the Suicune, Enteis, and Raikous in the game. Now, you're wondering, now how could you have possibly done this in one sitting? One very long and tedious sitting. And I will tell you, it is possible. And there's no cheating involved here whatsoever. It just takes an insane amount of patience and a very good battery life on your computer as well. It really helps if you have a laptop to do this, because sometimes you'll find yourself wanting to recline, change positions, you know, do something different, because sitting down in a chair doing this for 3-4 hours, however long it takes you, it's going to get very tedious. So, if you've seen the Pokemon before, which really helps, use your Pokedex to help find them out. It's kind of like a little radar, so to speak, at this point. You can help track them and figure out what they are. The problem is, they move. I know, the developers just couldn't hand those legendary Pokemon to you. They couldn't make it easy on us after all this work we've had to do, going through 2 whole regions. 2 and 16 gyms? They don't want to give things to us? Like, seriously. What is this, you guys? Are you trying to make this hard for us? Are you trying to get us to play the game more? Well, you know what? Fine. We'll play the game more. I will expend so much time doing this. More than is absolutely necessary. More than I probably should. But I'm going to get it done. Just to spite you. And you know what? I did. I spited those developers, because I got all 3 of them in one sitting. That's right. Yeah. Power. So, how did I manage to do that? Well, first off, if you've seen them before, which hopefully you've seen at least one at this point, make a note of where it is, or where you found it initially, rather, because if I'm correct, and I suspect that I am, but I'm not entirely sure, when you first release them, so to speak, and they kind of run out of the Tin Tower, they each run in a separate direction, west, south, and east. And you notice that there's only 3 directions out of Ecruteak City, and those directions are, there's a couple of routes going either way, but there's a couple of patchy areas along the road where you could potentially run into some Pokemon. I don't know exactly what the math is behind you finding them, however, you'll run into them at some point in either of those regions. So for Raikou, for instance, I found him, I believe, in the southern part of the region of Johto, if you go back all the way to like episode 19-something, when I just happened to stumble upon him when I was playing the game. So that means that he was my southern dude. Found him in the south region. That means that there's only east and west left to go, and then at some point, I believe just south of Blackthorn, which would be the eastern part of the map, I found an Entei when I was trying to do some level grinding. Couldn't catch him, wasn't prepared for it, oh well, whoop-de-doo. Master Balls make this a lot easier. I didn't have any Master Balls, so I figured I'd put it off for a later date. So since I got the east and the south covered, that left only the west. Now, I did find 2 of them, which made finding those 2 a little bit easier. However, getting them to land in the right spot at the right time was somewhat difficult. That meant I had to go blind on Suicune, though, which was a little annoying, but not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So, here's a couple of tips and tricks. If you haven't found them already, start somewhere. The best place to start is probably going to be just south of Ecruteak. Either that or just south of Goldenrod. Somewhere in the grass around there where you can just goof around, find some wild Pokemon. Probably a little earlier in the game, too. Because I think I found the first 2 fairly early. I didn't even bother looking for Suicune. But they're going to be in the wild grass in some of those regions. and they'll just pop up randomly. I don't exactly know how it's determined when they pop up, but they do, eventually, I promise. Then once you do that, your Pokedex will tag it, and it will show you its nest wherever it currently is on the Pokedex, and it will only go to certain regions of Johto. Certain regions, I mean the gaps between cities and the roads. It won't go to places like the Lake of Rage or Mount Silver or anything crazy like that. It will only go into the wild grass that's in between the towns and cities. So at least it's kind of narrowed down, except for the fact that every time you change an area on the map, that includes routes, by the way, that doesn't include just going into cities, their position will change. I believe the way it works is whenever you change an area and you're walking, which includes riding your bicycle, they move one area adjacent to the place where they were currently at. It might be as much as 2. I could be wrong there, but that's just what I observed in tracking the Pokedex. If you fly to a city, however, their position is completely random. It's just thrown somewhere away from you. They will never go directly adjacent to you, as far as I can tell. So try not to fly next to them, because that's never going to get you anywhere. Rather, what you'd like to do is, at least for Entei and Raikou, it worked for me, apparently it's worked for others. I don't know if it'll work for you, but one thing I tried was flying over and over again repeatedly to Embark Town. And if you can get them to appear in Route 46, which is the place that's just north of your initial route when you start the game, the place you have to go through the little house building to get to, but because of all the rock ledges, you can't go any farther north. That's the route you'll end up in if you keep going south from Blackthorn over and over again until eventually you hit a building. Route 46 is the one where just above where you start the game. If you can get them to appear there, then if you move into your initial route, which I believe is 29, then since you changed an area, they will move again. And if you're lucky, they will move into Route 29, because sometimes they don't. Sometimes they will move away from you depending on which Pokemon it is. I believe they all have different move patterns. But like honestly, I don't think anybody's actually been able to track this down because it's been so random, really. Anyway, keep flying over there to Embark Town. Just fly to Embark Town over and over again without leaving the town. Eventually, you'll get it next to you. Once it's on Route 46, head west into Route 29, check your Pokedex. If it's standing where you are, awesome. Run around in the grass, and it's probably about a 1 in 20 chance that you'll encounter it. Once you do encounter it, throw a Master Ball at it. Please don't try and do it the other way, because it's just way too hard. I mean, you could do the cold click claw and put it to sleep, mean look nonsense, but do you really want to risk killing a legendary Pokemon that you're never going to see anyway? And second, I mean, you could save the game beforehand, but do you really want to go back and go through the process of finding it again? Seriously, no. They made this way too much trouble for what it's worth. So, make sure you have Master Balls beforehand and just spare yourself a couple of hours worth of agony and misery. But otherwise, sweet, you have legendary Pokemon now. Now for Suicune, since he was going in blind, I basically did it by process of elimination and got insanely lucky. The way it worked was, since I hadn't done the West region now, the only 2 routes that they can possibly appear at if you're going west from Ecruteak are the ones immediately west of Ecruteak and the one just north of Olivine. So I just kind of bonked around in the grass north of Olivine for a little bit, and I literally was in there for no more than 3 minutes and I found Suicune. I was insanely lucky. It's not going to happen to you all the time, because a lot of these regions are a lot bigger, namely the southern region. The southern region is huge. There are places, they could appear anywhere from Violet to Goldenrod, to, just south of Ecruteak. So, good luck with that one if that's your blind region. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, but I could be wrong on that. Anyway, I managed to get all 3 of these in just over 2 hours worth of work. So, yeah, I'd call that a new record, potentially. And I'd swear, I did not cheat at all. All of this was completely legitimate. Yes, thank you. Everybody, give me a round of applause right now. Just kidding. You can like the video, though, if you want. I don't care. I spent some time on this, but I figured, you know what? If I've been gone for this long, haven't put up a video in a month, been too busy with other things like life, you deserve something awesome, and hopefully this was to your satisfaction. Thanks for being patient. Thanks for watching, guys. Next up, the finale. See you later.